until you can listen to music purely for the enjoyment of sound, and because you support that artist, you are a slave to its subconscious influence on you. Hey, what's going on? Dice Brand here, and I want to welcome you to the third and final installment on music and what music is actually doing to your mood, your mind, and your self-esteem. So, I've recently come off a 6-month music ban, and I know what you're thinking, 6 months without music, that sounds pretty hardcore. Well, let me tell you right now, it was pretty intense. It was quite a challenge, but I'm really happy that I did it. And I want to be able to share with you some knowledge and experience about going through this challenge, because maybe you're in the stage of your life where you're looking to go on a challenge like this, and maybe I can try and point you in the right direction. Now, if you haven't seen the first and second video in the series, this video is not going to make a lot of sense. It's going to sound pretty hardcore and pretty off the wall. So I encourage you to go and watch those first two videos and then come back to this one. Now, what I'm about to lay out here is an expansion on some of the things that I did earlier when I actually first got out of the military, to be able to reduce anxiety, depression, and pretty much mute suicidal thoughts. So that's how much of an impact it had on me. Now, I know it'll have the same impact on you if you take this thing seriously and maybe even take some notes. If this is something that you're interested in, you really need help with, I encourage you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also stay tuned because I'm going to be doing a lot more videos, especially on military transition. I do have some notes to keep me on track here, so bear with me. But with that being said, let's go. So for the last 6 months, I have not listened to music in my leisure. Okay, I've only really listened to music in situations that are outside of my control, like in shopping centers, at the nightclub, waiting at the doctor's office, those sort of things, situations that are outside of my control. So in my own time, I replaced it mainly with audiobooks and with interviews to sort of boost my brain with information that is actually going to help me. Why would I put myself through 6 months of torture without music? Well, as per the previous video, I saw a lot of results from quitting sad, negative, and manipulative music for a 2-year period, maybe a bit longer than 2 years, probably 2 or 3 years. Somewhere in there, I decided to cull out sad, negative, manipulative music, and I just saw a lot of results with my mood, self-esteem, verbal fluency, all these things. So the next thing that made a lot of sense to me was to go full potato and just cut out the whole lot and then start again. Now, the only other time that I can think of that I've gone through a period where I haven't actually listened to music is when I did basic training, when I was a Kapuka. Shout out if you've been a Kapuka. So yeah, there's got to be a good reason for that. I think the reason why they don't actually allow music when you're in basic training is because it actually forces bonds with the other recruits and instills a bit of unity. And also because, to cure boredom when you're polishing brass, you've actually got a way to actually communicate and bring the section, bring the platoon together. So with all these things in mind, I went into this challenge with a few things that I wanted to get out of it. So I got the things that I originally wrote that I wanted to get out of this music ban, and I'm going to share them with you. So the first one is I wanted to expose the subconscious drivers of what was actually running me and stop them from occurring. The second one is I wanted to replace silence with audiobooks with things that would actually make me smarter, actually make me a better person, or just replace it with silence and just be alone with my own thoughts no matter what came up. And then the third reason was I wanted to learn how to make and instill more fun and amusement within myself without constantly relying on outside stimulus. And holy shit, boy oh boy, did I go on a roller coaster ride. But yeah, so that's why I'm sharing this stuff with you. So for the most part, I just replaced it with audiobooks from my favorite influencers like Grant Cardone, Dan Locke, Lewis Howes, Derek Moneyberg. I got a lot of backed up old school RSD content. And a lot of Jordan Peterson. I actually got halfway through Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life, and it just really sparked my brain. I'm much, much more verbally fluent. I'm much, much more smart compared to how I was. Here are some things that are likely to come up if you want to do a band like this for yourself, okay? Some of the things that came up during my band. So you're going to start to recognize how addicted you are to outside stimulus in order to make yourself happy and joyful. All those hours that you had looking at YouTube videos, music videos, listening to music, little Instagram clips that have got music in them, and you're like, all that sort of comes to an end. And you're like, well, what now? What do I do with my time? So quitting exposes how your subconscious brain is constantly looking for little dopamine spikes and little distractions and outside stimulus. And also another thing that gets a little bit scary is like how afraid you are of yourself and your own thoughts. The next thing is a lot of things start to bubble up to the surface, and any little mild anxiety or mild depressive tendencies that you've got, or any negative moods that you've got, tend to increase briefly until you learn how to deal with them and how to address them. Because right now, if you're going to continue with this ban, you don't have a choice. You're forced to address these things. You're forced to learn how to generate your own positive emotions. And this really starts to build your confidence and self-esteem when you actually go through that pain period and come out the other side and you're like, wow, I can actually do this shit. So you become more aware that you have to be, now that you have to make your own happiness, and how hard it is to actually be at peace with yourself. You'll actually, like I said earlier, you'll become lightly depressed for a period of time until you learn how to deal with the thoughts that are going inside your head, and learn how to create new coping strategies to be able, that are more healthy, to like eliminate and reduce stress. So you become more consciously aware of the things that you say to yourself, both good and bad. And with enough practice, you learn how to like beat those thoughts into submission, and you learn how to change the language that you use to yourself. You realize how powerful the actual words that you use to yourself, instead of using things like, well, I might do that, instead of saying I might do that, you say I will do that. Just little tweaks, and how much of an influence that has on your actual action-taking momentum. It's really, really powerful. The ability to escape your core feelings and mind through escapism, through that ability is gone, and your ego really, really doesn't like that. And your ego starts firing these questions at you, like, why are you doing this stuff? You're getting rid of like a guilty pleasure. This is ridiculous. Why can other people listen to music and they're not affected? So, you know, and if you're asking those questions and you haven't watched the second video, go watch the second video, because I go into much more detail on why that's the case. So the next thing that happens is, which is kind of what I'm talking about, is your mind goes through a withdrawal stage, and you will notice that your mind gets a lot of earworms, okay? A lot of little things like, you know, previous songs that are very repetitive, any like PlayStation or Nintendo 64 in my case. I'm in the Nintendo 64 era. Shout out if you like Nintendo 64s, or used to have one as a kid. A lot of those theme songs are still in there. So you're like, holy shit, it's still in there. It's still in my brain. I haven't heard that for over a decade, and it's still in my subconscious brain, and it comes to the surface. And you're like, holy shit. So listening to audiobooks definitely makes you smarter, but it also audiobooks and interviews tend to be serious in nature. So because they're serious in nature, what actually happens is it starts to zap a little bit of like your fun and enjoyment, but you do get smarter. So you're weighing up the two things. And it tends to make you a little bit more robotic. But if you can learn to find the joy and happiness and the self-esteem improvement from listening to those resources and being inspired by people that you look up to, that can be very joyful and fun in its own way, okay? So this is where it gets a little bit more scary, all right? At some point, the magic questions surface, okay? And here they are here. If there is so much trash in my mind, what else could be in there that I'm unaware of? Let me say that again. If there is so much trash in my mind, what other trash could be in my brain or in my subconscious mind that I'm unaware of? What else could be controlling me outside of my conscious awareness that I'm unaware of? You know, this is where it really starts to get a bit scary. And also where real change starts to begin, where it starts to open that doorway in your mind. You're like, wow, what other things could be affecting me? What sort of foods am I eating that are bad? What about radio? What about mainstream television? What about all this shit that I'm watching on YouTube? You know, what about porn? Oh, I can't really say that word. I'm probably gonna have to cut that out. But what about those sort of things that are like tapping your subconscious brain in the wrong way? You know, you start to have these things. If you're at this stage in your life where you're starting to open up and you need a little bit of guidance, then send me a message on Instagram. And even if you don't really want to have any guidance, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on it, because you're at that stage in your life where like, yep, fuck this shit, it's time to step up. So here are my final conclusions and my recommendations for if you're going to go on this challenge. So until you can listen to music purely for the enjoyment of sound, and because you support that artist, you are a slave to its subconscious influence on you. So something that sort of just popped in my head, because I used to be a fan of Audio Slave. You are a slave to Audio Slave. And we all know what happened to Chris Cornell, don't we? And if you don't know who the hell Chris Cornell is, well, the same rules apply, the same principles apply, I should say, to the lead singer of Linkin Park. What's his name? Chester Bennington. You know, bang, boom, out of the game. So you've got to ask yourself the question, are these good influences? Do you want these subconscious influences like going into your brain, going into your subconscious mind without going through a conscious filter? Okay, music has that power. Music has that power to go through, penetrate into the subconscious mind without actually being filtered in any way. It's deeply ingrained in our psyche and in evolutionary psychology. So you've got to ask that question, you know, especially if you're looking to improve your overall self-esteem, your mood, get rid of a lot of these depressive tendencies. You've got to set boundaries for yourself. It's time to step up. It's time to move that shit out of your brain. You know, I think you're starting to realize how much music actually has a hold on you, has a hold on your mind. So the next point I want to put across is, would I recommend this band? And obviously, what am I going to say? Absolutely yes. You know, but I would point this out, and what I was talked about in the second video, I wouldn't go through and ban music entirely just yet, okay? I would do what I talked about in the second video, which is go through and get rid of sad, manipulative, and depressive music first, and then you're going to see so much results from that. And then if you want to, you can take the next step, okay? Go watch the second video. It's a lot more detailed than this brief touch over on it. So I also admit that it feels like at times, it feels a little bit like a bit of a miserable existence. And you sort of have this internal jealousy of others that are able to listen to sad music, able to enjoy Post Malone, I Fall Apart and like Circles, and not have that affected to you. But like if you're one of these people unknowingly and you're in the third category, as we talked about in the second video, then it's important that you set up these clear boundaries. But yeah, and also the other thing is you don't want to let this blue pill mentality fool you, you know. All these people that are, they're not like you. They're not looking to step up. They're not looking to get rid of a lot of these influences. They're not looking to take the red pill and really escalate and get themselves to a higher level. They're looking just to cope and soothe the wounds that they have and sort of stay in mediocrity. If you're watching this video and you're watching other great influences as well, there's a reason for that, okay? You're part of these, like this off-the-wall tribe. You're not a normie and you want to actually get better. So one of the questions that you're probably asking is, Dice, how long do I actually have to do this music ban for? Do I have to do it for 6 to 12 months? And in my opinion, I don't think you need to do it for 6 months. I think if you did it solid, consciously for 3 months, you get a lot out of it. You get a hell of a lot out of it. And you would start to see the results and the things that I'm talking about in this video. You'd start to realize that you're no longer using music as like a coping strategy. This exercise is going to get you like hyper aware on what music is actually doing to your subconscious mind. And it's going to help you with your mood, your anxiety, depressive tendencies, and your ability to create your own joy and happiness. So quitting music is going to force you to confront the underlying demons that you've got in your mind, because now you don't have a choice. You know, you don't have an escapism route anymore. You know, you're going to become more mentally tough. You're going to be more courageous, and your self-esteem is going to improve. I really hope that for you. You know, you're just going to be generally more confident. So let's go full circle on this, all right? We're not going to quit music forever, okay? That would just be retarded. But what we can do is we can learn from the exercise how to implement and use music to our advantage, okay? Especially if you're in the third category of people, as we talked about in the second video. This will become more apparent to you as you actually go through and finish the challenge, you know? You'll actually, after the challenge, you're going to be more motivated to actually set up boundaries and rules for yourself, because you've actually, and only listen to music that's actually got positive vibes, because you've seen such a good result from it. You'll use the knowledge and experience that you learnt through the journey, through the challenge, to be able to move yourself forward in a better light. So get this, music therapy has profound effects on elements of the mind. A 2014 study deemed music therapy as a viable, effective treatment against mental disorders. Holy shit. Let me say that again. A 2000 study deemed music therapy as a viable, effective treatment for mental disorders. So listening to music, only positive music, is actually a really, really good way to be able to reduce stress, and also you could incorporate this as a celebratory system to be able to help you when you're, like to reward yourself after you've completed a goal that was hard to do, and to sort of like get your winner effect in your brain firing properly, to sort of like reduce your low attention span syndrome, okay? So music is valuable if used properly for growth and not as a coping strategy. This is one of the most life-changing things that I've implemented in my life, besides quitting alcohol, quitting mainstream news and radio, and also quitting Triple X. I think I've already said in this video, but you know what Triple X is. I can't really say the P word on YouTube because it'll shadow ban my video. So yeah, I hope you got something out of this video, and now you have a clearer understanding on what music is actually doing to your subconscious mind, and how to actually go about a music ban if you actually want to do this. So if you're a serious dude between like the ages of 18 and 35, and you need a serious logical system to be able to find your purpose, to be able to reduce that mental clarity, and maybe build out a bit of a life plan, let me help you with this. Maybe you're at a stage where you're transitioning out of the military and you're having a bit of a hard time with like your identity loss. You're having a bit of a hard time with like what to put on your resume. And one of the things maybe I'm going to be able to explain here is like the military has created a easy code to live by, like this, do that, be here at this time at this place, hurry up and wait. And they've created a very easy to follow structure. Well, when you leave the military, you're going to have a bit of a shock, because that structure isn't there as much in the civilian workforce. So it is up to you to create your own structure, to create your own system and your own code to live by. So if you're starting to realize that and you're just struggling with that, then reach out to me. I'd really love to be able to help you with that sort of stuff. So send me a message on Instagram. We can get on a one-on-one discovery call, and we'll see if we're a good fit. See if you can picking up what I'm putting down. And if we are a good fit, then I can start mentoring you, and you can get on the program, and we can start to tap your subconscious in the direction, and we can actually get rid of a lot of this mental fog and this gray area, and you have a system and a bit of a mind map, you could say, moving forward into the civilian workforce. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, reach out to me on Instagram. If you're not ready to do that, by all means, I really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button, you hit the like button, and also stay tuned for some more videos that I'm going to be talking about on the subject. Thanks so much for watching, and this is Dice out.